celebrate. Anne's not dead. She's just turning 80.
We gather today to celebrate the life of an extraordinary woman who managed to live at least 4 lifetimes in one. A woman who cooked like a chef, flew like a bird, parented like a general and a saint simultaneously, wrote like a poem, taught like a sage, and who made the world better, louder, warmer, and more full of challah and chicken soup.
You had enough spending time with us was just too much. We heard you crossed to the other side, already took your bath in formaldehyde. You're 6 feet under, kicked the bucket, heard you croaked, you just said frigate. So long, Anne. We heard you're dead, but don't you worry, we remember what you said. You said, do me a favor, after I go, could you all please try and tolerate Joe? I know it won't be easy, it'll be a trying task. Please feed him and clothe him and give him a bath. I didn't want Joe to feel left out.
Thanks a lot.
So long, Ann. Sure gonna miss you. Now that you're decomposing, boy, I can't kiss you. Thinking about you, probably always will. I'll even put your picture behind the curtain on the windowsill. What are we gonna do now that you're gone? Who's gonna tell us every time that we're wrong? I gotta turn around now.
I'm glad you're not dead.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, exactly. You two will feel it.
Ann's memory of our initial meeting was more vivid than mine. I vaguely remember this really hot broad wearing, the regulation navy blue tunics that the girls wore with the white blouse, and I was really hot in my gray flannel pants and blue school tie. And the school was a little ways away from where we were. And for some reason or other, we seemed to hit it off as friends. And we used to walk home, and we were quite a ways away from school, so this would take, 40 minutes or so? You know, it was 45 minutes. It was a good long walk. All right, stop pointing. And we became close friends, but we never went out. We had our separate dating crowds. For years, we were close friends. And then, interesting thing happened, and when I was in grade 11, my dad bought a second-hand Cadillac Seville, 1958 Cadillac Seville. I know there's a few of you who might remember that incredible chrome behemoth. No, I'm diverging. Never mind. Anyway, he said I could drive it, and I was ecstatic, and I wanted someone to come with me. And of all my friends, I went to her house to pick her up because I wanted to share this with her. This is grade 11. And I should have, if I'd had sense, I might have thought about it, but I didn't. Anyway, and so I share this with you because that's who I wanted to share it with, my best friend. And we went to McGill, and Anne had an awesome time in McGill first year. She enjoyed it so much she decided to repeat it. She was in charge. She was in charge of the after football game parties. And in order to make, and football games at McGill, like anywhere, we're pretty raucous, And there would be, there was I don't remember, it was a gathering wherever we were afterward, and a whole bunch of us drinking and yelling and music and stuff. And she decided to have a Miss Legs contest. She was dancing on tables. And I want to tell you, she had pretty awesome legs. They were thin. She still has pretty awesome legs. Anyway, so yeah, she had a good time first year. Decided she'd repeat it a second time. When by second year undergraduate, I realized that we could be friends with privileges, and so we were. I was never going to. I wasn't going to get married. Could you elaborate a little more on that? No, I was never going to get married. I was going to be, like 35 before I got married, and I figure every once in a while we're getting too close, and I'd break it up because I was worried that, I would break it up, and then I couldn't hack it. It's kind of like giving up cigarettes. I couldn't give up cigarettes either. I give them up all the time, go out and buy another pack. And she put up with this for a while. One day though, I walked into a class that I guess we both had, and she's sitting, like, we used to sit in a particular area, and I'm looking around for her and I don't see her. We'd just broken out, and I don't see her. And then I see this blonde. Now, Anne had gorgeous long hair. I mean, really gorgeous long hair. She'd cut it, and it was blonde. And I was horrified. I was like, I couldn't say it. I mean, yeah, you really enjoyed that, didn't you? Yeah. Anyway, so there've been a lot of bumps on the road, it hasn't been smooth sailing. So when I was in first year med school, we used to work in the library in the evenings because we lived out of town. We lived in a suburb, and both of us hated being home, so we'd stay till the library closed. And it was December, and she was going to graduate in June, and she was saying that, as she said that, I'm going to graduate. I think I'm going to join CUSO. You remember what CUSO, Canadian University Students Overseas? Yes. And, I paused and I said, she's going to leave. I mean, it's one thing for me to break up with her, but she's going to leave the country. I wouldn't see her. And it was like, no, this can't happen. I said to her in a low voice, you can't go. And she said, why not? And I said, because I love you. And that was the first time I'd said it. And so the noose was tied. That was, that was it. And we couldn't get married because we were both living at home. We didn't have any money, so I had to wait for her to work for a year so that we could actually afford to live not with our parents, in our own place. And anyway, we're gonna go on. So, things happened, we had kids, we didn't have kids, it was all kinds of things like that. When I finished my training, I got a job at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. And Anne took advantage while we were there. She decided to get her master's, which she did, in special education. And it was an interesting group of a peer group there that she was a cohort she was working with. These were kids who were deaf and blind. And that's what she was dealing with, and learned how to deal with them. And I mean, pretty amazing, really. You wouldn't even know where to start, while we were in Nashville, I got another terror. There's a black university in Nashville called Meharry, and they had a medical school, and it was the time of affirmative action in the United States, so they needed their token Caucasians. And she was offered the opportunity to go to medical school. Thank you for not going through that. Anyway, we spent a year there, then we moved to Mississauga, Ontario, spent 2 horrible years there. And from my perspective, you weren't thrilled either, but we'd grown up in Montreal. Living in big cities, the only thing we knew was small towns. It's for hicks, who the hell lives in small towns? But I couldn't hack it. And so I said, we got to get out of here. We got to go to California. I'd wanted to go to California originally, and said, no, they have earthquakes there. So got my U.S. green card again, and I said, okay, we're going to get our tent trailer with 2 kids, bikes on the roof, and head out on our station wagon. We're going to drive out to California. We'll drive across Canada. I'll get a job when I get to BC because I have to make some money and then continue on. And she was fine. She was fine with that. She didn't care. We just had little boxes that we had with us for, that we lived with, minimum of clothes. And We did have one electrical appliance. We had a electric fry pan. And sometimes we'd stay in a motel, and she could cook a whole meal on that electric fry pan. She could boil water. She could make these complicated, wonderful meals. I mean, she loved it, loved doing all of that, and just did amazing stuff. Nothing slowed her down. So we ended up getting. I did a locum, and summer was over. We got back in our tent trailer and drove down to California. And I needed to get another a job, so I got a job at Bakersfield for a few months. While we're in Bakersfield, I said, I'm buying a motorcycle. And so Anne said, well, if you're buying a motorcycle, I'm going to fly. And I explained to her that, you know, insurance-wise, my insurance didn't, my regular insurance was covered, my life. Hers wasn't. Maybe hers was more dangerous than mine. Didn't stop her. So she started flying. And anyway, they got us to stay. We were able to stay at one of these fancy hotels because my dad was gambling at the time and had all these perks and didn't have anything to wear. And among the souvenirs we'd taken from previous places were OR greens. And Anne got dressed in OR greens with some jewelry and got some compliments on her avant-garde clothing. There weren't too many bloodstains on her. And then anyway, we decided we were going to stop in California. Got us involved in paleontology. Realized that there's all this paleontology and expertise, and there's no association. So she started a BC Paleontology Association and a National Paleontology Association, just because no one else had. So she became involved with. There's only so much I can tell you. She got involved with children who are constipated and have troubles controlling their bladders by necessity, because she was teaching handicapped kids, and developed an expertise that nobody else had, because nobody else would bother developing expertise in anything like that. Teamed up with a nurse, and the two of them set up a continence clinic, and they set up a national network of continence clinic. And it's, there's no guarantee. Anyway, we won. And I explained to her that at 55, she was totally rebooted, and she was good for 110. And so she's got another 30 years. I don't. And so you're going to do this for me, not the other way around, okay? And I just want to end on another obvious fact. I was turned on by her because she was hot when she was 15. And at 80, she is still hot. Yeah!
Continence arrives. Who we supposed to call when we get that wet surprise? It's good to know you won't be the same. Now you're pushing up daisies from another plane. Follow in your footsteps like we did before. So we see us coming, open up that pearly door. And we'll get together just a little bit. We'll have a hand or two of bridge, and we'll even let you in. You said, do me a favor after I go. Could you please try and tolerate Joe? I know it won't be easy. It'll be a trying task. Please feed him and clothe him and give him a bath. We'll have to get John to do that. So long, Anne. Been a real blast. No one can replace you now that you've passed. travel the world. 2 or 3 times with a smile. You're in another world now that you've expired. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Gone but not forgotten. Happy birthday from us.
The party, like a late guest to the party. I've had the objective privilege of getting to know Anne through observation, like a fly on the wall, one might say. Unburdened by the complexities of parent-child dynamics, slightly less governed by her innate influence as the matriarch, slightly less, yet close enough to see her in her natural habitat for an extended amount of time, and thereby able to get to know her as the truly special person she is. With Anne, our world has been full, dynamic, unpredictable, unboring, and brimming with love and laughter. For some, life is like a box of chocolates. With Anne, life is more like a batch of improvised nachos she whips up for you for lunch with whatever she has in the fridge and pantry. You truly never know what you're gonna get. You've all had nachos with cheddar, salsa, guac, and sour cream, but have you ever had nachos with an inappropriately pungent white cheese, chopped up Vienna sausages, and chutney? I have. She makes the best brisket I've ever had, but her nacho palette is broad and, let's say, ambitious. That said, she'll never let you go hungry. She'll always include you and leave you feeling curiously nourished. Without Anne, our world will be a little less spontaneous, a little less generous, and a bit more dull. Family gatherings will be less robust without our mighty matriarch. Our tables, tablecloths, and Anne's blouses will be a little less wine-stained. Kai Bay newsletters will be lacking. Fresh fig thievery from her tree, somewhat less exhilarating. Bridge games a little less colorful. Tai Chi a little more yin, a little less yang. The Comox Valley Art Circle a lot less vibrant. Provis a little less probe. But these imbalances are temporary. As and well after we've grieved the loss of our wonderful Anne, our world will become richer and more inspired, having known such a passionate, mischievous, bon vivant who impacted us in so many ways. So here's to Anne. Wherever she may be, may your memory be a blessing.
That speaks to the more serious tone of today, and it was a piece from Florida Scott Maxwell when she was 85 and she was speaking to her own issue, the piece of our mortality. You only need to claim the events of your lives to make them yours and yours. When you truly possess all that you have been and all that you have done, you are fierce with reality. That's how I feel about what I'm going to say. I am that to which I gave short shrift, and to that I attended. I am my descent into darkness, and my arising into light. My betrayals, my fidelities, my failures, and my successes. I am my ignorance and my insights, my doubts, convictions, my fears, my hopes. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. So I say at this moment, take a memory that you have of Anne, hold it close and dear. Hold on to it. Now, one of the reasons I thought it might be brought was to be a bit cheeky. And so, in honor of Anne's pre-mortem, I must state that I was mortified to hear that Anne wanted me here today. It must have taken a lot of dough for this cake. I hope it's not a crummy cake, which could have you coughing gravely. If you dig what I'm saying.
It gets better.
I know you're dying for a piece and some peace, and you will have to wait your turn for your internment. So I wrote a little limerick.
Danger.
There was an Anne from Kai Bay. She was artful and smart, they did say. To win her warm smile would require your while. It could happen with cheeky wordplay.
That's good.
Okay. So we'd like to have you cut the first piece, and then we'll cut the rest of it.
Have you